Hi, I'm Lisa. In this video, you will listen to another conversation that I had with a native speaker in Los Angeles, and I will teach you the everyday common expressions that he was using. These are the types of things that are generally not taught in English classes. Learning them will help you understand native speakers, and using them will help you sound like a native speaker. In this video, you will listen to my conversation with the former firefighter talking about his job. You probably know the word fireman, but these days it's much more common to use the word firefighter instead of fireman. You will listen to my conversation with Tom. He told me some very interesting things about his job when he was working as a firefighter in Washington, D.C. His job title was firefighter paramedic. Some people in this profession are only firefighters, but others are firefighters/paramedics, which means they are trained to not only fight fires, but also to offer emergency medical help. Here is a photo of him after graduation. You can see Hillary Clinton standing next to the graduating class. I asked Tom what types of characteristics a person needs to have in order to be a good firefighter. I said, a firefighter needs to be brave, right? He disagreed with me. What do you think he said that a firefighter really needs? I think his answer will surprise you too, and you will find out in this video. Let's listen to the first part of my conversation with Tom, and then I will come back and I will teach you the expressions and the advanced vocabulary that he was using, and then I will use those expressions in other sample sentences to make sure you really understand the meaning and to make sure you can use it as well when you're speaking English. It seems like being a firefighter or paramedic is a dream job for a lot of people.
It is. It was a dream job. I absolutely loved it. My father was a fire chief in a small town in Ohio, and I wanted to be a firefighter paramedic since I was very small child, probably a toddler. When I realized what fire trucks were, I wanted to be a firefighter.
I think that's a common thing for kids, isn't it?
Yeah, either firefighter, police officer, or astronaut.
So you achieved that goal?
Yeah, I did. And DC was a big city for me, and being a big city firefighter was a dream come true.
Oh, because you came from a small city?
Yes, exactly.
What was that like, transitioning from a small city to DC?
At first it was a culture shock. I was a small town farm boy who shifted into a very large international city. I got teased, but I also learned a lot. Yeah, I did, yeah.
What would they tease you about?
Just my accent, certain things that I would say, certain words that I would say, roof versus roof, how you pronounce certain words. I was 300 miles away from home, but I felt like I was in another country sometimes. But the best part about that is people learn from me, but I also learn from them. I've met some great friends and still to this day have good friends from that.
What was your favorite part about being a firefighter?
I think it was knowing that when someone calls for you, you're going there to help them. You're not going there to arrest them. You're not going there to do anything else. You're going there to help someone in a time that's probably one of their hardest times.
You must have seen a lot of tragic things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that, it's good to have a source of camaraderie with your fire station, with your firehouse, the other firefighter paramedics, so you could talk about those things.
So after a difficult case, you discuss it?
Yeah, we would sit down, we would talk about it, we would, for lack of a better term, share our feelings, and that would assist us in that, but it also helped us not take that experience home with us to our families. It helped us not take that experience to a bar, and that was the firehouse family.
Toddler. Do you know what that means?
I wanted to be a firefighter paramedic since I was very small child, probably a toddler.
Tom said, I wanted to be a firefighter paramedic since I was a very small child, probably a toddler. And a toddler is a young child, usually between the ages of 1 and 3. You can say, this toy is not suitable for toddlers. They have 2 children, a newborn and a toddler. Tom used the name DC.
DC was a big city for me.
He said, and DC was a big city for me. This one is confusing because we have DC, we have Washington, and then we have Washington, D.C. Do you know the differences? For example, most people don't say Washington, D.C. They often say D.C. I live in D.C. However, people who work in government, for example, politicians, they will say Washington. For example, they will say, we heard some news from Washington, or I'm going to a meeting in Washington. But here's the confusing part. There's also Washington State. Washington State is on the west coast of the United States, and Washington, D.C. is on the east coast. But Washington, D.C. is not a state. It's considered a district. And the D.C. stands for District of Columbia, and that's the capital of the United States. It's not a state. Isn't that confusing? The next word is a verb, to shift. Do you know what that means? Let's listen to the way Tom used it.
I was a small-town farm boy who shifted into a very large international city.
Tom said, I was a small-town farm boy who shifted into a very large international city. And to shift means to move from one place or from one position to another. And you can say something like this: public opinion has shifted a lot on this topic. Or you can say, he was shifting in his chair because his back hurt. Or you can say, the wind is expected to shift tomorrow. The next verb is to tease. Tom said that he got teased a lot. Do you know what that means? Let's listen.
You know, I got teased, but I also learned
did?
a lot. Yeah, I did, yeah.
What would they tease you about?
Oh, just my accent.
Tom said, I got teased. And I said, what did they tease you about? And to tease someone means to laugh at someone or to make jokes in order to have fun by embarrassing them. Sometimes teasing is not very nice, but sometimes it's friendly and it's playful between friends. But very often it's unkind. You can say, when he was a child, he got teased about his weight. Or in a more playful way, you can say, the good friends often tease each other playfully. Tom was teased about his pronunciation of the word roof.
Certain words that I would say, roof versus roof, how you pronounce certain words.
In some parts of the United States, roof is pronounced with an sound, such as book and good, so they say roof. But in other parts of the United States, it's pronounced with an sound, such as food or moon, so they say roof. There are two ways to pronounce it, depending on which part of the United States you're from. And people can recognize that you're not from their area based on how you pronounce this word. The next word is camaraderie. Camaraderie. We're going to stress the second syllable. Let's say that together. Camaraderie. Let's listen to the way Tom used it.
It's good to have a source of camaraderie with your fire station, with your firehouse, the other firefighter paramedics, so you could talk about those things.
Tom said it's good to have a source of camaraderie with your fire station, with your firehouse, the other firefighter paramedics, so that you can talk about things. Camaraderie is mutual trust and friendship among people who spend a lot of time together. You can say, I miss the camaraderie of my colleagues at my previous job. My favorite part of the hiking club is the camaraderie we have. Let's listen to the way Tom used the word would. Would can be confusing because it can have different meanings. It can be used in different ways. Let's listen to the way Tom used it.
We would sit down, we would talk about it, we would, for lack of a better term, share our feelings.
Tom said, we would sit down, we would talk about it, we would, for lack of a better term, share our feelings. In this case, would means used to. Something done repeatedly in the past, not only one time or two times, but repeatedly. It was a regular occurrence in the past. We would sit down and we would talk about it. That's what they used to do. You can say, for Christmas, we would go to our grandparents' house. Or, when I was a child, Every summer, we would swim in the lake. What did you used to do when you were little? Instead of saying, when I was little, I used to, you can say, when I was little, I would. Why don't you pause this video right now and make a couple of sentences using I would for things that you used to do regularly when you were a child. Okay, let's go on to the next expression. The next expression is for lack of a better term.
We would sit down, we would talk about it, we would, for lack of a better term, share our feelings.
Tom said we would, for lack of a better term, share our feelings. You can say for lack of a better term or for lack of a better word. And that means I can't find the right word for this situation, so I will use this one. When you can't think of the precise word for what you're trying to say, you can say for lack of a better word. Let's listen to the way some other people used for lack of a better term.
So we essentially got caught in the perfect storm, for lack of a better term.
So your muscles are completely relaxed and you're kind of asleep, for lack of a better term.
Let's listen to the next part of my conversation with Tom. He talks about the qualities and qualifications a firefighter needs to have. Let's listen, and then I will come back and I will teach you some more vocabulary and expressions. What kinds of qualities do you think a person needs to be in that type of role?
Selflessness, honestly, a commitment to service. It is a paramilitary organization, the fire station, and you have a chain of command that you report to. You will have friends if you're in a big enough, well, even in smaller towns, you will have friends that you may lose. I was just on the phone about an hour ago with a colleague of mine that lives in Los Angeles and was a Los Angeles County firefighter who had lost a friend just last night to a fire, sadly.
Does it usually happen in big fires, like forest fires, or sometimes in home fires as well?
It usually happens when you least expect it. If they have what we call a line of duty death, it'll be something very simple, sadly, a car accident.
By them driving? Or?
Yeah, just, we're driving, lights and the siren, we're going through red lights, and we drive at all hours of the night. So at 3 a.m., if there's someone that's inebriated, they may not see the ambulance or the fire truck.
It seems like you would need to be brave. I think about brave firefighters.
It's funny that you say that because I think you need to be scared.
Really?
Because that's what keeps you safe.
Interesting.
If you're scared, you're alert, and you're able to identify things that may hurt you. So be afraid and cautiously approach situations. If you're brave, sometimes that can lead to silly mistakes.
Got it. Can you tell me about the qualifications?
Physical aptitude is required. We run up a lot of stairs. We do not use elevators. We have to be fit in order to carry and lift heavy things out. I was a very short firefighter, so I had a lot to prove when it came to carrying people out, whether it was carrying people out or carrying my firefighters out. So we would train constantly on that.
You would train carrying people?
Yeah, rescuing people from fires or car accidents, things such as that.
Tom used the word selflessness.
Selflessness, honestly, a commitment to service.
And that means caring about other people more than you care about yourself. And that's the opposite of selfishness. We have the adjective selfish, and the opposite is selfless. And the noun is selflessness. Everyone admired her selflessness. Let's listen to the way Tom used chain of command.
And you have a chain of command that you report to.
Tom said, and you have a chain of command that you report to. A chain of command is the official hierarchy or authority which defines who is in command, the way people are ranked in an organization or in the military. You can say, you can't call the president directly, you must follow the chain of command. The next expression is line of duty.
If they have what we call a line of duty death, it'll be something very simple, sadly, a car accident.
Tom said if they have what we call a line of duty death, it'll be something very simple, sadly, a car accident. Generally, we say in the line of duty, and that means while you're doing your job. We often hear it used this way: he was injured in the line of duty, or a policeman was killed in the line of duty. The next expression is at all hours. Let's listen.
We're going through red lights, and we drive at all hours of the night.
We can say at all hours of the night. And Tom said we drive at all hours of the night. And that means at any time or all the time. And often this expression is used when you're annoyed by something that's happening at an inappropriate time, or maybe it's happening when people should be sleeping. And you can say something like this: the baby cries at all hours of the night. Or you can say, my upstairs neighbors make noise at all hours of the day and night. Do you know the meaning of the word inebriated? Let's listen to the way Tom used it.
So at 3 a.m., if there's someone that's inebriated, they may not see the ambulance or the fire truck.
Tom said, so at 3 a.m., if there's someone that's inebriated, they may not see the ambulance or the fire truck. And inebriated is another word for drunk. Drunk is a much more informal word, and sometimes it's not very polite to say he's drunk, but it's more formal to say he's inebriated. Or you can also say he's intoxicated, someone who's had too much alcohol. You can say, you can tell that he's inebriated by the way he's walking. You can say, I can't believe he said that. He must have been in an inebriated state. Let's say that again, and let's connect the three words, in, on, inebriated. Let's link them because that's how people speak. This one is really hard because it's in an inebriated. He must have been in an inebriated state. You say it. The word inebriated compared to the word drunk would be the same as if we were to compare the word overweight and the word fat. For example, your doctor will not use the word fat. The doctor might say, you are a little overweight. It's the same thing for inebriated or drunk. Inebriated is more formal and more polite. As you can see, when you increase your vocabulary, you will be able to express yourself more precisely and more appropriately. And I want to remind you about my course that will help you achieve that goal, the 400 advanced words you must know for fluent English. Do you know the meaning of the word onslaught? That's word number 71 in my course. Here is a sample video from the course where I explain the meaning of that word. The next word is onslaught. Onslaught. And those two vowel sounds are very similar. For the first sound, the ah, the mouth is a little more open. It's ah. And the second one is more like this, ah. So it's onslaught, onslaught. And an onslaught is a fierce physical attack or very strong criticism or a violent attack. The city was completely destroyed after an onslaught of military attacks. Let's connect after an onslaught of. After an onslaught of. And let's say the sentence again. The city was completely destroyed after an onslaught of military attacks. After an onslaught of criticism, the president changed his position. Let's pronounce the word criticism correctly. There are 3 letters I, and they're all pronounced like this. I. Criticism. And let's say the sentence again. After an onslaught of criticism, the president changed his position. I also talk a lot about English pronunciation rules in that course. The course consists of 7 hours of video, plus downloadable audio files of the whole course, and quizzes to test your progress, and downloadable PDF files of the words. You can get the course by going to my website, accurateenglish.com. A lot of you have been asking me for the scripts of my conversations with native speakers. You want to be able to read what they're saying. I'm finally creating a course which will contain the scripts so you can practice reading all of these conversations. There will also be a list of all of the expressions used in sample sentences. The course will include hundreds and hundreds of expressions, both from the previous videos plus new interviews that I'm making specifically for this course, where I interview people of different professions, different ages, and different backgrounds, so that you can learn to use the most common expressions that native speakers use in different situations. That's the true path to sounding like a native speaker. And the new course will also include the rest of my conversation with Tom, where he's talking about the other jobs he had. He worked in a hospital. I think you'll enjoy hearing about it. Meanwhile, I will be making more videos for this channel also. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you click on the notification bell so that you can find out when the next video is released. Thanks for watching and keep practicing your English.